The topic: the top 6 money errors doctors make. Yes, the title is meant to make you click on it, but truthfully, we do see these titles in real life quite a bit. So we're going to walk through 6 topics that we want to at least bring to your attention. The first one is going to be just mismanaging money, which think more of cash flow terms. The next one is going to be skipping savings, or maybe even a low savings rate. Next up is going to be failing to plan for taxes. 4, which no one likes to talk about, divorce, but also a very important topic to cover. 5 is going to be inadequate insurance, not just life insurance, not just disability, but also talking through, medical malpractice and homeowners insurance and those items, just making sure you're properly covered. Last but not least will be number 6, which will be the investing side of things and not putting enough research into it, but maybe even keeping it more simple and not having your own investment policy statement. We're going to cover those 6, all coming up next. Stay tuned. All right, the first one, mismanaging money. Think of mismanaging money in the terms of cash flow, or what we call financial wellness. The first one is going to be failing to pay down debt. Now, we know student loans are having a large effect on many physicians' lives. Just knowing that you have those organized is a huge piece of the puzzle. Same with your own primary mortgage. Those 2 items usually we're not too worried about. We don't see too many errors there, at least from the student loan part, maybe getting organized and making sure in your proper path. There is some items that you definitely want to cover there. But what more I'm worried about here is going to be personal loans. Maybe it's credit card debt. Maybe it is a personal loan. So mismanaging the actual debt part of it is where we want to keep an eye on. So know what debts you owe. Make sure you're on a good path forward. Again, for the most part, we're looking at you, personal loans and credit cards. Not as concerned about student loans and your primary mortgage. But again, we're assuming that you didn't buy a house that was too large for you, and that your student loans are on a good path for either aggressive payoff or traditional payoff, or maybe even public service loan forgiveness. So that's the first one we're looking at. Loaning money. This is always a tough one. There are some individuals that truly want to loan money to their family to help them, and the proper research has been done ahead of time. Then there's the group that may loan money because they want to do it because they have so much money, but it might not fit their financial plan yet. If you're going to loan money, especially to friends and family, at least go into it with the assumption that you may never get the money back. That's half the battle there. But don't become your own personal bank. Understand the risk of that. Doesn't happen all that often, but when it does, it's usually a horror story. So just be careful. Last one in mismanaged money is going to be overspending. So we call it lifestyle creep. Dr. Dolly, the white coat investor, will say, continue to live like a resident. Don't get into the overspending habits. It's very hard to get used to a lifestyle and then try to bring it back. It's not that easy to do. So as you continue to grow into your career and your cash flow continues to evolve with that, make sure that you are still telling your money where to go at the top of the budget. Make sure you're on track for all your goals. And then on the bottom part of the budget, we're not as concerned about that discretionary spending. We don't have to track how many times you go to Chick-fil-A or how many times you go to Starbucks, because at the top of the budget, you're already in line for everything. Your student loans are getting paid off. Your mortgage is paid. Your utilities are paid. You're on track for, your retirement or your financial independence goals. 403B, 457B's maxed out. Backdoor Roth IRAs going, joint accounts going, or maybe an individual account. Make sure that you're telling your money where to go so that on the bottom part of the budget, you don't get trapped in an overspending habit. So that's number 1, mismanaging money. Number 2, skipping savings. I wouldn't even really think of skipping savings. I would think of it more as your savings ratio is not high enough. For physicians, remember, you had a longer training path. You're going to get a little bit later start. You could also end a little bit sooner, depending on what your physician burnout could look like, or maybe you're just overwhelmed, or maybe you just put in your time. So for us, we always say for most of our clients without a financial plan, we always call it, if we met you on the street, we're going to tell everyone to try to be saving somewhere between 15 to 20%. In our financial plan goals, we put 17.5%. Once we build a financial plan, obviously we can be very specific because we know all the moving parts, but that general guidance, we want to be somewhere between 15 to 20%. But also don't lose track of your emergency fund. If you have your 403B, maybe you have a 457B as well, check that out. If you have your 401k, maybe you have after-tax contributions you can take advantage of. You're going to have your back to a Roth IRA. So make sure that, one, you're not skipping savings, but you're saving adequately. And also, more importantly, start saving sooner than later. The most magical sauce in all of personal finance is compounding interest. And the only thing you have to do is get started now, not tomorrow. More time in the market leads to better compounding interest. That is the most magical tool you have at your disposal. Take advantage of it. Number 3, failing to plan for taxes. I would even come back and call this just tax planning in general. So this is where we're trying to take advantage of pre-tax savings vehicles. Again, assuming that you're attending and your income's higher. Even if you're in training, there are benefits to getting what we call your adjusted gross income, AGI, lower because it directly affects your income-driven repayment plan if you're going for public service loan forgiveness. But for the most part, we're trying to always be efficient in our tax planning. 403B, 457B, 401k, backdoor Roth IRA, not a pre-tax savings, but you're getting essentially after-tax growth, and when you go to retire or take funds out, it's all after-tax dollars. Does an FSA, a flexible spending account, make sense? Does an HSA, which we love HSA, so the health savings account, make sense? Are there commuter benefits? Making sure that you're taking advantage of all the tax planning right in front of you. But also make sure that you're withholding properly from your W-4. Maybe you have some 1099 income. Are you paying your quarterly taxes? Are you on track for what we call the safe harbor amount for your taxes so that you don't get hit with any penalties or fines later because you didn't pay enough in? Make sure that you're working with an accountant. Or if you're not working with an accountant, maybe you're consulting with one just for even one-off consultations to make sure you're on track. Even if you are maybe utilizing a system like TurboTax, we at the end of the day still think it makes a lot more sense to utilize an accountant, in particular a CPA. But main thing is here, include tax planning in your overall financial strategies. All right, number 4, the topic that comes up in way too many of these blog posts, but it comes up for a reason, and blog posts coming into our videos as well. Divorce. It's something that I wish we didn't have to talk about this much, but unfortunately it's still there. It'll probably always be there. So with divorce, we always say the first thing we lead with is continue to have date night with your spouse. Make sure that you're keeping that fire going. But the reason why we get nervous about divorce is because, one, divorce is expensive. Not just from attorney fees, but from your assets. If you've been married long enough, you could easily see a true 50-50 split. If you have assets going into a marriage, maybe it's your second marriage, or maybe it's your first marriage, but either one of you had a chance to build up assets. Maybe it makes sense to have a prenup. These are items that you want to get in place beforehand. Talk to your attorney. If things aren't going well, don't be embarrassed to go see a marriage counselor. Again, I am not a counselor. I'm not a psychiatrist. We work with psychiatrists. I am not one, so don't take my advice here. But come back to the simple idea of keep date nights, keep that fire going. Divorce can have a major effect on your long-term financial plan, whether it's in the near term or the long term. Just make sure you're doing everything you can to keep a healthy relationship going. Because at the end of the day, if this would happen, it can have a drastic effect on your personal finances. All right, number 5, inadequate insurance coverage. So the two that stick out from our side, because we build financial plans all day long, is going to be life insurance and disability insurance. For us, life insurance, we keep it super simple. Make sure you have proper term life insurance in place. Some clients, they think when we say, somewhere between $1 to $3 million, and again, this is very specific to your financial plan, that number can sound like a lot, but remember, with term life insurance, you can get a lot of bang for your buck, especially if you're in good health and you're younger. So keep that in mind. Make sure you have proper insurance in place for life insurance. Disability, again, our clients, Gen X, Gen Y physicians, so most of our physicians come to us under the age of 50. Our biggest asset, ability to wake up and go to work every day. So making sure you have proper disability and coverage in place. The other items that we noted as well, home and auto insurance, You should talk to your property and casualty insurance agent, once every few years. Hopefully they're independent and they can quote a few providers. Always get fresh quotes. Umbrella coverage, same thing. This is also embedded with your property and casualty insurance agent. Umbrella insurance for us is we're always trying to be in the ballpark of your net worth. You always start with $1 million policy. It's cheap insurance. You can usually get $1 million policy for about $200 per year. And then as your net worth grows, increase that policy, $2 million, $3 million. And you can always be on the higher side on the umbrella policy, even if you're going to kind of grow into it, just because the insurance is very low cost. And last but not least, where you should be a bigger expert than I am, but just understanding your malpractice insurance, making sure you have the proper coverage in place. If you have tail coverage, making sure that you have all those moving specific details in place for you. So make sure you have the proper insurance coverage in place, because again, one of those events goes wrong, bad malpractice suit, you become disabled, they can have a detrimental effect on that, both the short-term but also the long-term financial plan. Lastly is investing without research. So we kind of noted on just understanding your fees. We are not anti-AUM financial advisors. We just utilize flat fees or cap fees because they make sense for our clients. Most of our clients, again, they're in that accumulation phase. And even if they do have a higher net worth, we utilize that flat fee model because we just think it makes the most sense. It's transparent. Just understand your fees. Maybe you are paying 1% to an advisor, but you're getting a lot of value from that. That's fine. That's okay. Just make sure you know what you're paying for and that you feel like you're getting proper value. Understand the expense ratios of your funds. Make sure at last, the most important part that I'll end with is going to be have your own investment policy statement. Make sure that you're laying out your rules so that when things get bad or if things get shaky, you can sit down, read your paper on why you're doing this. So make sure you have a good investment policy statement in there. So, the last one, number 6, investing without research, is going to be know what you're paying, whether it's to an advisor or to an advisor plus your internal fees, your expense ratios, or even maybe model fees. But then also understanding that why you're doing this, that investment policy statement. So those are the items we like to include there for investing without research and understanding why you're doing this. All right, and there you have it. The top 6 money errors that doctors make. Hopefully you're not making any of those. Hopefully you read through this, or you read the blog post, or you watched the video and you said, I'm good to go. But at least we put it on your radar. Make sure you are keeping an eye on these 6 items. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next video.